Hello, welcome to this week's Tea Time Results Show. A roundup of the games that the societies have played, the winners, the special mentions, and an update of what's going on and how you can get involved. So, we're going to start with Wednesday Golf Association. They played a Texas Scramble, obviously team game. Very good result for the team coming in first place, 59.2. Eugene Toy, Dave Freer and Steve Cronk. Coming in second place with 65.1, so quite a big difference there. John Leyland, Dave Noakes, Luke Sharp. In third place, and there was no score recorded, which tells me it wasn't a very good score, Dennis Jones, Steve Parsons, John Venables and Neil Smith. So following on from the Wednesday group, no results in from the Thursday or Friday. We next have the Saturday Clubhouse Golf Society. They played a Stableford, playing your own ball off the yellow and red tees, 2 to score on the back and 3 to score on the front. Again, another team game. First place, Phil Helton, Mick Drummond, Alison Vasey and Alan Hebby. In second place, Glenn Trigg, Irene Langley, Bill Donald and Spencer Truman. And in third place, Martin Geary, Ian Pragnell, Glenn Elliott and Gary Davis. Nearest the pins, hole 3, Alison Vasey. Nearest the pin on hole 11, Steve Carter. On hole 13, Glenn Elliott. And nearest the pin, into on hole 9, Martin Geary. So following on from them, we have Cats Bar, also playing on Saturday the 24th of May, and they played a Pinehurst with 2 drives each and playing your own ball on par 3s with 2 scores to count. Another team game, in first place with 91 points, John Leyland, Baz Elmore and Kieran McGibney. Right behind them on 90 points, Norman Morgan, Steve Cronk, Bernie McCluskey and Marius Bruiser. Only 2 players scored on the nearest the pins, Dave Noakes on hole 3 and Kieran McGibney on hole 13, and they both won a breakfast at Cats Bar. Moving on to the Sunday, 25th of May, Black Bull Golf Society played. They didn't submit any scores for the day, but I did have a little quote about something interesting that happened. So we all know the trials and tribulations on hole 12. So surprisingly for him, Don Senior found himself 50 yards from the gallows. His first shot hit the upright and rebounded to land within a few feet of him. Not to be taken apart, he took aim again, but this time he missed the wood, but he managed to find the bell. Although sadly, whilst the bell was ringing loud and clear, the ball had ricocheted into the hazard. He managed not to break his club. Well done, Don Senior. But I have it on good authority that he didn't utter another word until he got to the 14th hole. Following on from them, we had Sunshine Golf Society, Sunday the 25th of May, who played an Irish Rumble, 1 to score on stroke index 1 to 6, 2 to score on 7 to 12, and 3 to score on 13 to 18. Team game, first place with 90 points, Colin Reid, Brian Vero, Ina Ellingsether and Susan Lyons. 86 points in second place, Dennis Jones, Dave Noakes, Mary Armitage and Ray Lyons. And on 85 points, Paco Belchi, Ian Cooper, Gary Davis and Penny Cooper coming in third place. Nearest the pin on hole 3 and on hole 5, Eugene Toy. Well done, Eugene. Nearest the pin, hole 11, Bob Lawrenson. And nearest the pin on hole 13 and hole 8 in 2, Paco Belchi. And just 2 winners, 2 twos winners, Dennis Jones and Rob Greatley. Okay, moving on to Tuesday the 27th of May, our ladies group, Las Gaviotas, played a stroke index waltz. Just 1 team result, Alison Vasey, Hayley Barker, Susan Lyons and Penny Cooper. Nearest the pin, hole 3, Hayley Barker. Nearest the pin, hole 5, Pam Andrew. Nearest the pin, hole 11, Bron Porter. And nearest the pin, hole 13, Susan Lyons. 1-2's winner, scooping the whole rollover 2's pot, Mary Armitage. Well done, Mary. Moving on to Wednesday Golf Association, on the 28th of May, they played a Pinehurst 3 drives each. Again, another team game. In first place with 112 points, Trev Andrew, Brian Perkis, Steve Cronk and Dave Noakes. In second place with 111, very close game, John Leyland, Kieran McGibney, Dave Freer and a drawn card. And third place with 110, that's how close it was, Eugene Toy, Norman Morgan, Dave Oakes and Bob Lawrenson. Some incredibly high scores on the day, so worth a mention to the individual scores. Bob Lawrenson and Luke Sharp, both on 49 points. Fantastic score, well done. And Dave Oakes and Steve Cronk, both on 46 points. Again, fabulous scores, so well done, guys. Thursday Friendly Golf Society played a competition format called a throw and a mulligan. No, I really have no idea. It was a team game. In first place with 132 points, so there must be something dodgy going on there. Steve Carter, Jim Chapman, Brian Verau and Dave Bennett. With 126 points in second place, Dave Spooner, Gary Greenfield, Camille Vertonghen and Keith Bilton. And then third with 124 points, Bob Evans, Keith Humphrey, Pete Constable and Spencer Truman. Moving on to Sunshine Golf Society, Sunday the 1st of June, they played a World Handicap Qualifier and the game went towards the Order of Merit, which runs throughout 2025. So it was an individual score. First place with 41 points, and again another fantastic score, Mary Armitage. Second place with 39 points, Ian Butters. 38 points in third place, Dennis Jones, and 37 points, fourth place, Ron Porter. Nearest the pins, hole 3, Keith Phillips, hole 5, Ron Porter, hole 11, Colin Reed, hole 13, Mary Armitage, hole 8 in 2, Ian Butters, and hole 15 in 3, Mary Armitage. 3 twos, Rob Greatley, Mary Armitage, and Dennis Jones. Also on Tuesday, Las Gaviotas played their World Handicap Qualifier. Individual game, in first place, Irene Langley with 36 points. Ron Porter, second place with 33, and Mary Armitage, third place with 32. The nearest the pins were manipulated by Veron and Irene. Veron took hole 3 and hole 11, and Irene Langley took hole 5 and hole 13. Just moving back quickly to Saturday the 31st of May, we had our MABS Charity Day Texas Scramble. It's an annual charity day which we hold. We had a fantastic 80 people got involved. All the entry fees went directly to MABS, and MABS were available on the day to do a raffle and a charity auction. Very well supported by the golfing community. It was a fantastic day out. There was one clear winner on the day. We did actually introduce an electronic scoring system, which was the first time we've done this. It seemed to be quite well accepted, but the downside being that everybody knew what was happening as the round progressed. However, the winning team on the day with a net 54 points were Martin Geary, Brett Wilcox, Spencer Truman and Steve Gill in very attractive shirts. 3 teams on 57 points, and the scoring was decided on lowest combined handicap. So coming in second place, we had Kieran McGibney, Steve Cronk, Norman Morgan and Dave Hackett. In third place, Rob Greatley, Keith Humphrey, Gary Davis and Eugene Toy. And in fourth place, Jim Niblo, Walt Island, Mick Finnan and Ian Ward. Nearest the pins, and it's nice to have some new names here. Hole 3, Lee Harrington. Hole 5, Ali Jones. Hole 11, Gordon Nielsen. And hole 13, Paul Higgins. Overall, we had €2,270 raised for MABS. So thank you everybody for getting involved. It was a fantastic day. Hope you all enjoyed it. Our next charity day will be for Forget Me Not, which is going to be on the 2nd of August, but more details to follow for that. Okay. So if you're interested in playing with any of the societies mentioned, please get in touch with the golf shop and they'll connect you with the relevant captain. Also, if you'd like your society featured on our results show, get in touch and we'll let you know how you can get involved. Okay, so that's enough of that. Now, joining me in the studio today is Rob Greatley.
Hi Hayley. Hi everybody.
And we're going to be chatting about the World Handicap System. Okay, so World Handicap System, what was the system before it was adopted by Campusol?
It's quite a long explanation, but anyway. Okay. First of all, golf is one of those sports that's quite unusual in having a handicap. In actual fact, the only thing that I can really think of is horse racing, actually, having handicaps. The reason why we have handicaps is to try and make a system where a good player can play against a not so good player on equal terms. That, I mean, we all understand, I think, the idea of why we have handicapping. So, handicapping in golf can be traced back as far as the 17th century, actually, 300 years.
Okay.
And there were various forms of handicap systems that were adopted then. If we come forward to the early 20th century, 1911 actually, the United States Golf Association introduced a form of course rating which the UK and Ireland had never used before, so slightly different to what we use now, but it was still a form of course racing which allowed people to transport their handicaps from one golf course to another and not be disadvantaged. In the UK and Ireland, they looked at a form of course rating in 1925, and that was called the standard scratch score. And a lot of people who are playing now will remember standard scratch score in the system of handicapping that we used prior to the WHS. And what standard scratch score was a way of rating the course for the score that a scratch golfer would score on that particular course.
Right.
So obviously the lower the standard scratch score, the easier the course was. But the problem with that system is that if you played on a fairly easy course, you would end up with a handicap that was applicable to that course. And if you played on an easy course and you then went to play on a much harder course, you play on your handicap and it would be difficult for you to compete.
Okay.
And so in 2011, the Royal and Ancient and the United States Golf Association started talking about introducing a form of World Handicap System. And 10 years later, January 2020, the World Handicap System, as we now know it, was introduced.
Okay, wow.
Yeah.
That's a pretty good explanation. I wasn't quite expecting us to go back that far.
Well,
but yeah, thank you.
Golf has been played for like 500 years. A lot of people don't realise.
Yeah. Okay. And so the actual handicap system came into force in 2020?
January 2020, it was introduced to the world.
Right, okay. And when did Campusol?
Well, Campusol was a bit later introducing theirs. I think because prior to that we weren't part, or it wasn't a member of the Spanish Federation. I believe that's to be the case. And so it wasn't, World Handicap System was finally introduced, I believe, in January 2022, if I remember correctly.
Okay. And so basically it was introduced to make sure that Campusol and we were sort of in line with
all the other courses.
With all the other courses, so that we're all playing off a level playing field.
Yeah, I mean, that's the idea of the World Handicap System, is that now you can have your handicap at Campusol and you can go and play other courses and your handicap will be relevant to that course.
To whichever course that you're playing.
Yeah.
Okay. How is the course and the slope rating decided?
Okay. Well, that's a very complicated process.
Okay.
And I don't even
Is it
think,
as complicated as the last
Well,
answer?
yeah, I don't even think I could actually explain without something written in front of me how it's calculated.
Okay.
But the idea of it is the course is rated between the score that a handicap player would score against the score that a scratch player would score. And there's lots and lots of different elements to that calculation. But it's all done by the Spanish Federation. And they go around and they look at things like hazards and penalty areas and the shape of the course, shape of a hole, all sorts of different calculations taking place. And then they come up with what they call a course rating and a slope rating. And that's all relevant to how your handicap for the day, which we all know as our allowance, is calculated.
So there's one governing body basically that just decides this
In Spain.
In Spain,
yes.
Yeah, so
But-
it's not a world handicap system.
Well, yes, it is, because all different federations would have the same criteria to.
Yeah.
So they all work on the same criteria, but
Yeah.
it's all governed by the country's own federation.
Yeah.
In England, England Golf.
Yeah.
In the United States, United States Golfers Association.
Okay.
In Spain, Spanish Federation.
And is this open to negotiation at all? So, you know, if the federation come and assess your course and, you know, they make decisions on your rating based on particular things that are going on around the course, hazards, difficulty.
Right.
Is that negotiable? Is that something that?
Well, I mean,
or
if
is it literally just this
that-
governing body?
Well, the governing body
control?
basically, once they've decided, they decided. But obviously, if you make changes to the course, then you can ask the Spanish Federation to come back
Yeah.
and to
Yeah,
reassess.
yeah. So big changes that
Yeah.
might happen
Yeah.
may affect the course rating.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So that's something that you'd have to negotiate
I mean,
with them.
yeah. I mean, you may recall recently we changed the stroke indexes on some of the holes.
Yes,
because
we did.
felt that some of the holes had the wrong stroke indexes.
Yeah.
But there was no need to re-rate the course
Yeah.
because of those changes.
Yes.
It would be material changes like putting in another penalty area
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
taking a penalty area away. That would definitely change.
Yeah, or substantial changes on the
Yeah.
course, which are going to affect the difficulty of different holes. But
Absolutely. Yeah.
yeah, so as a club, as a committee, we do have the ability to change
Yeah. Okay. So.
difficulties of different holes.
Okay.
Within,
stroke index of different
within
holes.
certain
Yeah.
criteria.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So as long as you're not affecting, say, the front nine has a certain number and the back nine,
Yeah.
you can change that as you.
Yeah, well, I mean,
as you
we have a
develop
system
it.
at Campersol where all our holes from 1 to 9 are even number
Yeah.
stroke indexes.
Yeah.
All our back 9 are odd numbers.
Yeah.
That doesn't have to be the case, but it just happens to be the case.
It just
at
happens to be
Campersol.
the
Yeah.
case. Yeah. Okay. So when it comes to completing scorecards and submission for handicaps,
Okay.
this is obviously quite an important point.
Yeah,
for
and
the
in
World
actual
Handicap
fact,
System.
in Spain, as opposed to quite a few other countries, as I found out, Spain have a slightly different system. Let me just explain. In England, they have a system where you can submit as many general play cards as you like. So, in other words, if you go out with your friend, and he's also a member of the club, you play around and you fill in your scorecard, you fill in each other's scorecard, and you sign up at the end. You can put those cards in. Unfortunately, that's led to a little bit of ambiguity and, shall we say, I won't say it, call it shit, handicap manipulation, because you can play 10 rounds, not play very well, play in the next competition, play really well, end up beating everybody. So in Spain, they've got a very good system. Actually, I think it's better than the system in England, in as much as you can only put in one general play score per month. So it's not as open to handicap manipulation as in England, for instance. But that doesn't stop you from putting lots of cards in.
Yeah.
You just have to pay it. You just have to do it either in competition, either in your society running a handicap qualifier, or you can also, if you've got 6 people together, rather than just a couple of friends together.
Yeah.
If you've got at least 6 people playing, then you can set up a mini competition and you can put your handicap cards in for that as well.
Yeah. So you can put in as many cards as you like
Yeah.
within the month, as long as it's in a proper registered qualifying competition
Yeah.
with a society
Yeah.
or with a group of 6,
Yeah.
all of who are members,
Yeah.
and the game is pre-registered
The game, the game must
the golf-
always be pre-registered.
with the golf shop.
Yeah.
Okay, so that kind of manages the handicap.
It does.
Which leads on to kind of keeping the handicaps relevant.
Okay, so the best way to keep your handicap relevant is to submit as many scorecards as you can during the year. And I'll explain in a minute how your handicap is calculated, but the general consensus is the more cards you submit, the more relevant your handicap will be to the way you're playing at that particular time.
Okay.
So yeah,
Yeah.
play as many competitions as you can.
As many competitions as you
I mean,
can.
that's and in fact, I would say to all the societies on Campersol, at the moment, a lot of them only play one a month.
One a month, yeah.
Well, at Sunshine Golf Society, as you know, every time we play a handicap qualifier.
Yeah.
So I think I would suggest that the players who play with Sunshine Golf Society have got a hell of a handicap that's more relevant to a lot of the other players on Cambusole. Yeah.
Absolutely, because obviously, you're still playing your own ball all the way round, and you might be playing a team game, but you're still playing a qualifier as well.
Yeah, I mean that's important to mention actually. If you're going to have handicap qualifiers, you basically got to play. You've got to play your own ball.
Yeah.
But that doesn't.
And you have to hold the ball. You can't be doing gimmies.
In general, yeah.
In general.
Yeah, I won't say anything about that. But
let's not talk about gimmies then.
But yeah, I mean, but even if somebody's playing their own ball, that doesn't stop you from playing team formats. There are team formats you can play.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
The only difference is you've basically got to have two cards. You've got to have one card which you're going to hand in for handicaps, and you've got to have another card that you're going to use to calculate your team score.
Yeah. Okay. So I mean, Sunshine obviously play a qualifier every week, playing their own ball. I think the Ladies Society play a qualifier at least once a month, and I think most of the other societies play a qualifier at least once a month.
Yeah.
So that is really helpful in keeping your handicap relevant.
Yeah, and I would suggest, obviously, there's quite a number of players at Cambusole who play in lots of different societies.
Yeah.
So the ideal number, there isn't really an ideal number, but to make your handicap relevant, around about 60 cards per year will keep your handicap very relevant. So if you can play like our monthly competition at the golf club, and maybe two other societies, maybe put in one general play card per month, I think you're probably gonna reach 60.
Yeah. Okay.
So for everybody, really.
Do you think that introducing the World Handicap System has affected people's perception of competitions at all?
Yeah, I think it has.
Okay. In what way?
Okay, so prior to WHS, certainly I remember when I played in England, most competitions would be won by a person with a low handicap. It was almost It's almost turned full circle.
Full circle, yeah.
Yeah, most competitions are. Yeah, maybe I'm over exaggerating there, but certainly a far bigger percentage of competitions are won by players with a higher handicap, because basically somebody with a high handicap index will receive more strokes than a player with a low handicap.
Yeah. And that in itself is going to cause a little bit of
and has done. And if you go on Facebook and you read, there's lots and lots of Facebook pages regarding World Handicap System. Trust me. But the most of the complaints about World Handicap System are because of that. But there are ways that competition committees can reduce that effect.
Is that by having a handicap review on certain people?
No, it's more to do with how you set up your competition.
Okay.
So we at Cambusole Golf, we have division based. So we have Division A for handicaps 0 to 18, and we have a Division B for handicaps 18.1 and above. Yeah. And that does help.
Yeah.
There are other ways. You can still have one division. But if you reduce the percentage by which people can use a handicap, so say for instance you run on 80%, you will find that people with a higher handicap and therefore a higher allowance will lose more shots than people on a lower handicap.
Yes.
You get me?
Yeah. Because it's a bigger percentage.
Yeah, exactly.
A higher number.
Yeah. So that's another way in which you can stop the complaints and everything that are happening. But I think personally, at the moment at Cambusole, the way we're doing it with Division A to Division B is the correct way for us.
Yeah. I guess it's a difficult one, and you're never going to satisfy everybody all the time. We just have to work with the rules that we've got and try and make it fair and enjoyable for everybody.
You've hit the major word on the head there, because golf is meant to be enjoyable. So if you're enjoying your golf, it doesn't really matter what your position is. I mean, okay, we all like to win. I like to win. I'm sure you like to win. But at the end of the day, the main thing is that we're here at Cambusole. We're able to go out and play golf, and we're very lucky with the weather.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. Okay. And we all love playing golf in the sunshine.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you for that, Rob.
Welcome.
If you're interested in playing with any of the societies mentioned, please get in touch with the golf shop, and they'll connect you with the relevant captain. And also, if you'd like your society featured on our results show, get in touch and we'll let you know how you can get involved. Thanks very much, Rob.
Welcome. Great to be here.
See you all next time.
Bye.